So the Pentagon is through there.
Yeah.
And the Vatican is through there.
Think I'm real. Hey, I'm a few days late for my, what has become my usual Doctor Who review. Sorry about that. I got some very good reasons though. Saturday night I was watching some good friends of mine in a play on the stage, Brassed Off, which was very good. And I can very recommend you going to see this play if any group near you are doing it. It's a very good play. And then Sunday I went to the Doctor Who exhibition in Cardiff. That was fun. I recorded some footage, so I may well get a kind of vlog type thing up at some point in the next couple of weeks when I get a chance to edit it. So keep an eye out for that. Thought I'd better go before it closed, which I think is next month. If you haven't been, go quickly now. In fact, stop watching this video and just go to the Doctor Who exhibition right now. But for those of you that are left, let's get to the review. So for those of you that are still here and haven't rushed off to Cardiff, this episode, Extremis, not sure which. Extremis or Extremis, however you want to pronounce it, was directed by Daniel Nethime. I really should have looked up how to pronounce his name. Hold on. Nethime. Sorry, Daniel, if I got your name wrong. And written by Stephen Moffat. The Doctor is called upon by the Pope of all people. The Pope! Who tells him that an ancient text in the Vatican vaults has been translated and has been causing people to commit suicide once they read it. Upon investigating, the TARDIS team find out that it's because this text reveals that everyone is just a computer simulation and we are not real. The simulation's being run by a group of creepy looking aliens in robes.
Bill, are you there? She was not real. You are not real.
That are simulating Earth in order to simulate their invasion tactics and work out the best way to invade with minimal resistance. After working this out though, simulation doctor emails real doctor what's been going on so that they can be prepared for part 2 next week. There's also a flashback plot involving Missy, who's been sentenced to execution, and the Doctor is her executioner. I'm not really sure what to think about this episode. I mean, for once I've had a chance to sleep on it and I still don't really know what to think. And I think that's probably because it's part 1 of 3 parts, and it'll be better to assess it once we've seen all 3 parts. It's very difficult to assess just one part of a 3-parter. So hopefully once we've seen the other 2 parts, I can look back on this and maybe reassess my opinions, I don't know. But there were some things I liked. In terms of the story itself, I liked the idea, I liked the concept, and that is something Moffat is very good at. I think he does concepts well, he does the big concepts. He can come up with those. What he's not so good at, though, is the character interactions. And while I absolutely liked the idea and the twist, I didn't see the twist coming of the computer simulation, so that's good. It surprised me. I liked that. What Moffat isn't so good at is the characters and how characters interact with each other on a personal level. And I think that kind of showed a bit here. We've had a lot of really good character development with Bill and the Doctor over the last several episodes. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And I don't know, they just didn't seem to have that same relationship. They didn't seem to have any sort of relationship that felt like it had been developed in this episode. I did like seeing the Doctor vulnerable, which he was because he was still blind from last episode, and he used the sonic shades to get information about his surroundings, which was actually not a bad use of the sonic shades. I was really worried that the sonic shades would be back with a vengeance in their old cheesy way, but this is actually a good way to use the sonic shades. I appreciated that, at least. But at one point he sort of partially gets his vision back. It's a bit iffy on how he does that, but he does. But what I liked about that was that he was still vulnerable, and it could have been so easy for them to just go, okay, the Doctor's blind, but he's still awesome, and he can still do all these amazing things. But what they didn't go down that route, which I think is really good. It's really good to see the Doctor vulnerable for once. He was stumbling, he was tripping, he looked genuinely fearful on his face and worried that he might not get out of there.
Oh, not yet! No.
think that adds a certain bit of tension that you don't get when the Doctor is just like, hey, I can storm in and save the day in any situation. This kind of put him in a situation where that wasn't necessarily the case. And of course, what it did was make the very end where he did triumph and he did outsmart the bad guys even more rich, even more rewarding, because he'd had those moments of earlier on in the episode of like, will he get away? I don't know. He even doesn't know. He's not as confident as he usually is. I continue to like Nardal. I don't care what anybody else says about him. I still like him. And I like him more and more each episode, actually. And I think the way he can turn from the sort of goofy, slightly scared idiot to very serious, very stern, very actually a little bit frightening is really good. And he can do that just like that. It's great. And I think it shows that Matt Lucas is a fantastic actor as well as just a comedian.
Miss Potts, I'm the only person you've ever met or will ever meet who is officially licensed to kick the Doctor's arse. I will happily do the same to you in the event that you do not align yourself with any instructions I have issued, which I personally judge to be in the best interests of your safety and survival. Okay, Bill?
Okay.
I've seen some chatter about the TARDIS translation circuit and the fact that, well, why didn't they translate the Italian? That didn't bother me, actually, because the two people it should have translated it for are Bill and the Doctor, effectively, and Nardal, I suppose. It shouldn't have translated it for anybody else. And there is not a point where we see them not understanding what they're saying. We don't know. They don't show us necessarily them understanding, but we don't see them not understanding. So all that is a stylistic decision of what to show us, the audience. We, as the audience, don't automatically get translated for us by the TARDIS. I mean, often we do, but that's a decision of the writer and the director. That's not a hard and fast rule. And I think that can be an interesting decision so far, and sort of a tonal decision where what you want to reveal to the audience isn't necessarily what you want your main characters to know, and vice versa. So yeah, I'm not fussed by that at all. I think if they'd gone down the route of Bill going, what's he talking about, or something like that, I can't understand him, or actually showing us that they didn't understand, then that would have been a problem, but they didn't do that. It's Missy. It's the end of that feature then. I'm actually quite disappointed with this, both in the fact that it's Missy, because that seems a little bit too obvious and boring. I don't know. I mean, in one way, the John Sim Master would have been boring as well. Would have been obvious as well, but not so boring. That would have been a bit exciting. I don't know. This just fell a bit flat. But also, I was disappointed in the way they revealed it. It was just like a throwaway line at the beginning of the episode where he leans against the door and goes and talks to her and uses her name through the door. And I don't know, it's just a little bit disappointing with that. But I kind of wanted the big dramatic reveal, but didn't get it. Although, for all we know, this is all just a red herring, and we haven't actually seen the vault open yet, so there is still a possibility that this is all still to throw us off the scent, and there is something else, someone else in there that gets into the vault and swaps with Missy somewhere between her going in the vault at the end of the flashbacks and the modern day set scenes we've seen. It's always a possibility. Never put anything past Moffat. I've seen some criticism that the episode was very confusing, and I can absolutely get where that's coming from. It did require a lot of more concentration than some of the more recent episodes. Didn't ruin the episode for me though. I just had to think a bit more, and I quite like drama that makes me think. But I can see how if you're watching it in the background while doing something else, it might be a bit annoying. And Moffat's episodes are always a bit more harder to follow. They require a bit more concentration. You either like that or you don't. I didn't hate this episode, but it didn't wow me either. I think it would have been it's an absolutely fine episode. It's just not, wow, that was amazing, that was brilliant. And I think in the context, if it hadn't been for the context of the rest of the season, which has been absolutely brilliant, every episode so far has been great, with maybe a slight dip in Smile, but even that was pretty good. I think without that context, it would have been absolutely fine. But just in that context of such a good season so far, this one therefore looks a little bit lower in comparison. But in many other seasons, this episode I think would have been absolutely fine. It would have been great even. Yeah, in the context of this one, it lacks a little bit from the rest of the season. But as it's a first part of a three-parter, I am still conscious that it's a bit unfair to judge it just yet completely. So I reserve the right to change my opinion after seeing all 3 episodes, is what I'm saying. I might well come back to this and change my opinion, change my score, whatever. Talking of score, I'm going to give it a provisional 6.5 out of 10, which is the lowest score this season I've given anything. But like I said, it might go up in comparison when taken in context of the rest of the 3 episodes. Let's see. I will reassess it at the end of the 3 episodes. Next week we get part 2 of this with some giant pyramids. So that's good. See you then. Bye.